Live from downtown Vancouver at the Vancouver Film School campus, it's time for EP Live. Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas. This is my buddy Baruti Bear Safi, and we are very happy that you've joined us today. Thank you all for coming out to the VFS Cafe. That's at 390 West Hastings. You are all going to be going to see Onward with us tonight, which is very cool. Thanks to our friends at Disney Canada.
Round of applause for Onward.
Yes. That's one of the cool things about the live audience when you come to see the show in Vancouver at the VFS Cafe. We have movie nights starting, and tonight we're going to go and see Onward, the new Pixar movie, which I'm very excited for. We also have a couple of fantastic guests on EP Live today. A few fantastic guests. We've got two people from the company called Lumote, and they're going to be talking about Lumote, their new video game. And Anthony Del Col, who has most recently wrapped up the new Assassin's Creed project. It's called Assassin's Creed Gold on Audible, is going to be talking to us about being a writer and working with all of these incredible characters and properties. But stay tuned for that. First, we've got a rundown to get to, and today we're dedicating it to the PlayStation 2, which celebrates 20 years. Today was launched 20 years ago.
Round of applause. PlayStation 2, one of the best consoles of all time.
Amazing machine, amazing machine. All right, let's get started with your rundown. Now, it looks like Bat fans will have to make some fresh room on their toy shelves. Director Matt Reeves has dropped the first official look at the new Batmobile that will appear in next year's big screen movie, The Batman. The new Batmobile looks a lot like a traditional American muscle car converted into something a bit more superhero-esque, similar to the do-it-yourself look of the new Batsuit, which was revealed just a few weeks ago. It's a safe bet that the new film is going to be a lot more grounded and realistic in tone, similar to Batman Begins, rather than more fantastical. Like some of the DC movies like Justice League. The Batman is currently filming and will hit theaters in June 2021. No longer am I concerned about Robert Pattinson being Bruce Wayne and our new Batman. I think he's going to kill it. I love Matt Reeves.
He's going to kill it. I love Robert Pattinson. I think he was kind of stuck as being Edward from Twilight.
Yeah.
And this might be a kind of a breakout role for him because he's been in, was a Good Time, The Lighthouse, what was the other one, The High Life. He's done a lot of films. A lot of them were mediocre. They were okay. Yeah. But I think he's just such
He's trying. He's taken it for, he's like serious about his career. He wants to be an actor for a long time.
And he's a great person too, you know, outside of that. Every time I see him, well, just from the interviews you can feel.
Are you standing Robert Pattinson?
Robert Pattinson, call me.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Team Edward
Is that what
in
the
Twilight.
Kids say? Stan? Do you guys know? You guys don't know. You're too old.
I'm a big fan of this more realistic take on the franchise. I think this is what DC really should have done earlier on. I think they were trying too hard to catch up with Marvel by trying to make these mashup movies where they should really treat it like they're animated movies, right? Where it's kind of like a different take 100%. Each time.
I mean, I really feel like, unless you have Kevin Feige in your studio who's got like a master plan and he's got all the characters mapped out on a board, and he can go to the executives and say, I need your billions of dollars to make these because I'm going to make you quadrillions of dollars. Don't just go out and say I'm making a trilogy or I'm making a series of interconnected movies. Make one. Make one that we all love. And then if we love that, then we'll want more. And it worked for Wonder Woman. I think it worked for Aquaman, which surprised the hell out of us. It worked for Shazam. And it worked for Joker, but I don't know if we're going to get more of Joker. But I think this is the attitude and this is the approach for the Batman. And you're right, it should be grounded. Batman is the only superhero where you feel like I could be Batman if I stopped playing
That's
video
only
games.
you, Vic. I think that's you every night.
That was my career idea when I was a kid. Didn't work out. I'm kind of the nerdy Batman, I guess. I'm in a cave playing my video game, so I'm almost Batman.
With a lot of Batman toys.
Yeah, with a lot of Batman toys.
I've seen them.
But the new Batmobile, I love it, and I have to say, I have to underline this. The thing that excites me the most, it doesn't appear to have machine guns attached to it, which always drives me crazy with the Batmobile. Batman hates guns, and every one of these Batmobiles, he's shooting folks. It's just so stupid.
Let's just hope that DC has learned their lesson.
Yeah.
And I think that this is going to be, hopefully this is a bright future, and I do think that, Matt Reeves has what it takes. I thought he did a great job with the Planet of the Apes movies. They weren't obviously phenomenal, but they were great films.
They were phenomenal, especially the last one was outrageously good.
Well, exactly. So we have a great director on board.
Yeah, no, he's amazing. Now let's talk about a character that does put machine guns on his cars. Not even super spy James Bond is immune from the effects of the coronavirus, with fear of the virus causing people to avoid public places, including movie theaters. The new 007 film, No Time to Die, has been delayed by almost 8 months. It was set to hit theaters on April 10th, but will now land on November 25th. The producers say they're doing this following a thorough evaluation of the global theatrical marketplace, which has already taken a hit because of the virus. So don't be surprised if other big movies follow suit. Hopefully everything has worked out well before November. Remember to wash your hands. I think we all know that, yes? Yes,
a round of applause for washing hands. Okay.
Clapping our clean hands
yes.
after washing them. Yeah, this is a huge bummer. I've been so excited about this Bond movie, and the trailers look incredible, and the imagery just looks amazing. I love Daniel Craig as this character, and I really want this movie to be phenomenal. What this does allow for with the creative team, if they want to tinker and improve, now they've got that time. Maybe they want to make a more realistic-looking Sonic the Hedgehog in this movie.
Okay, Vic, let's not take it too far here.
But they can do some pretty fun things with this if they want to.
This is kind of my train of thought, too, is the Bond movies are not really known for their CGI.
Yes.
I have to imagine this movie's probably done or close to done.
It's been done for a while. I think,
what are the chances now that we're delaying it for 8 months that this thing gets leaked somehow?
Well, I think the smart play, honestly, would be to kind of subvert the whole thing and say a lot of people are going to be stuck in their homes for whatever reason, whether it's their own doing.
Oh, you're going to put it out on Netflix?
Well, maybe they should, charge $20 on one of the services, and they probably make a mint doing that, and they could probably still release it in theaters. Maybe reverse the whole chain of how you get a movie out there and experiment with that. If any movie is going to be a good test case for something like that, it's a new James Bond picture, right?
That's right. It's crazy to think that Daniel Craig has also been our Bond for now been 14 years.
It's the longest one.
2006 was Casino Royale.
Amazing.
And it's crazy to think that
he's so phenomenal.
He's good. I think he's probably the best Bond.
I think he is.
He's the best.
I don't think that the films have been as good as Casino Royale, though. That's still the best one.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, and I really hope that this becomes the successor. It supplants it. I hope it's so amazing.
Did he say how much longer he wants to keep going?
Oh, this is it.
This is it. I mean, he said this is it for the last 2 movies.
If this racks in $500 million or whatever, $1 billion, I guess they shoot for the billions now. If this goes over $1 billion, I think the studio and the producers will be throwing all kinds of money.
Daniel Craig will be in a cane shooting people.
I mean, what would be cool is if Daniel Craig says, "Look, I'm going to become the new M." He could still be a part of the Bond franchise and transition to something else. And train a new. I don't know. Anyways, it's not my job to think of it. I can't wait to see that movie. All right, now following the success of Jedi Fallen Order, EA isn't slowing down the pace on new Star Wars adventures. An unannounced new game, codenamed Star Wars Project Maverick, has apparently leaked online. Artwork for the game briefly appeared on the official PlayStation Network, showing a Star Destroyer and X-Wings against a red background. There are unconfirmed reports that this will be the first Star Wars project from EA's new Motive studio in Montreal. The artwork has since been taken down, so we'll let you know when official announcements are made. This would be an amazing time to start announcing all kinds of video games because it's likely that E3 is going to be wrapped up too because of this coronavirus. So
that's true.
And one thing that we will all be wanting to do when we're not out interacting and being social with people is playing lots of video games. So our attention on new video games actually is not a bad thing right now. I'm psyched if EA is thinking about a vehicular Star Wars experience.
Yeah, we have to imagine that this is going to be a fighter squadron sort of game.
Please,
right?
Don't put Tom Cruise in your title.
Yeah,
it's not
that's right.
Be in a jet
you got to say, the Top Gun maybe had some inspiration, but the term Maverick obviously very highly used in aerial situations.
Please.
But
yes,
I feel like this is an amazing route to go for a game because the last one was it Rogue Squadron on the GameCube?
Flying game?
Yeah, the flying one.
Well, the last one. Well, I mean, the Battlefront games give you
obviously, and then there was the VR mission that you loved.
Love that, yeah.
So this is a great direction, I think. I think we've had enough kind of boots to the ground stuff, and we have that with the Jedi Fallen Order.
They could do so much with online play. They could do like a total battle royale mode with X-wings and going up against TIE Fighter.
Yeah.
There's so many amazing things. The
Very
mind
cool.
boggles, right?
And another series I want to shout out too, I don't feel like gets enough love, is Ace Combat too. I feel like they just released a really fun game.
That was a great game, yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot more space in the gaming industry for flight combat games.
Very good. A lot more space.
Yeah.
The big PS4 exclusive Death Stranding won't be a PS4 exclusive for much longer. The PC version of last year's post-apocalyptic UPS delivery simulation game will hit Steam.
You got this.
That was a long sentence. The Epic Games Store and other digital platforms on June 2nd. That was a long sentence, just like that was an overly long game.
We got some shots here.
It will have everything from the console version, along with new PC-centric features like higher frame rates, a photo mode, and crossover content with the best PC game franchise of all time, Half-Life. Blake wrote that. We expect, it is kind of though. We expect that the way the game runs on a high-end PC will be a nice preview of how the game will likely run on the PlayStation 5 due out this holiday season. Yeah, that's great. You're going to have a pretty good time playing Death Stranding.
Could I say something? I don't collect many things.
Yeah.
But I am a Kojima.
Do you have the baby?
I have the baby.
You bought the baby?
I'm a Kojima fanboy.
my
I have a
God.
shrine in my home that's dedicated to Kojima.
Okay,
I have a little sign thing of him. I
Yep.
want to even get a little body pillow of Kojima. Like I'm in there.
Okay.
So
you stand Kojima.
But Death Stranding was a game that I finished.
Yes.
And I told myself, I don't ever want to play that game again.
I immediately deleted it after I finished it too. Yes, I was. It just overstays its welcome, man.
It does.
And part of it is like, and this happens even with the best games. I felt that about Red Dead Redemption 2. Is that it becomes a bit of a job. You're trying to finish these massive things, and it's like, oh my God, my whole life is passing me by.
Yeah.
But I'm like trying to get to the end of this thing. And
Can you imagine being a full-time delivery person and coming home and playing that game?
No. I mean, that was the thing with The Sims that always drove me crazy. It's like, I don't want to do virtual laundry.
Yeah.
I got to do real laundry.
Crazy.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to cook for my virtual characters. I
Okay,
got to really cook.
enough slamming on Kojima. I love him too much. Let's give him a chance on his next
Yeah.
game. But I think it's great that, some people really love Death Stranding.
There's
it was
a lot of beauty
divisive
in it.
game.
Yeah.
There is a lot of beauty.
There's
in
about 20 hours of beauty in
it. Yeah.
it.
And the great thing
in a 70-hour game.
the great thing we have to also mention is the fact that the PC community might make this a better game.
They might, yeah.
They might turn this, they might, let you fly to your destination and enjoy the beauty much quicker.
The speed run of Death Stranding
Yes.
on PC is over in 5 seconds.
Yes.
I know, that'd be hilarious.
So,
all right, well,
we'll see.
PC game fans have a chance to check that game out very soon. We are going to get going with our guests in a second, but first, here are your weekend plans. Welcome to Weekend Plans, where we show you the best new games, movies, and TV shows to check out this week. Recent behind-the-scenes trouble at Pixar hasn't stopped the studio from moving onward with new animated adventures. Onward imagines what would happen if a magical fantasy world were brought into the present day, so you'll see mythical creatures like elves and manticores using their magical powers alongside modern technology like automobiles and smartphones.
Oh, great and powerful manticore.
Whoa, sir, you're right in the hot zone.
Spider-Man himself, Tom Holland, voices a young elf who goes on a road trip, or quest, to find a spell that will bring his father back to life. This type of urban fantasy idea is usually reserved for more adult-oriented entertainment like Buffy and Supernatural, so it will be interesting to see what a family-friendly studio like Pixar can do with the material.
Something wrong?
Sorry, it's just your stance is, here, chin up, elbows out, feet apart, back slightly arched. Okay, how's that feel?
Great.
Ben Affleck is traded in the mean streets of Gotham City for the polished wood of a basketball court in the new sports drama, The Way Back. He plays a former student basketball star who finds a way back into the sport by coaching a team at his alma mater, which forces him to come to terms with many of the demons from his past. As if good old-fashioned basketball wasn't intense enough, the film will also deal with other dramatic topics like drug addiction, alcoholism, and racism, so expect things to heat up on the court. It's directed by Gavin O'Connor, who last worked with Affleck on the 2016 thriller The Accountant. The Division 2 is leaving the swamps of Washington, D.C. and taking players back to the Big Apple with the new expansion, Warlords of New York. Players will return to New York City, complete with even more locations and enemies, and take on new missions where they confront Arndt, one of the main villains from the first game. Along with the new missions and locations, the expansion will also introduce new weapons, gear, and abilities, not to mention dynamic weather effects which can help or hinder your strategy depending on where and when you take on different missions. If you need something new or old to catch on the Switch, the Pokemon franchise is coming to the rescue. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX is a remake of the first 2 Mystery Dungeon games, first released on the Nintendo DS back in 2005. They've been rebuilt from the ground up with completely new graphics using the modern Pokemon engine, although the art style is reminiscent of the classic look and feel. Like the original games, players and a Pokemon companion will explore different Zelda-style dungeons, although to make things interesting, they'll all be randomly generated, so you'll never know what to expect. This is actually the first time one of the Pokemon spin-offs have been given the remake treatment, which speaks to the lasting popularity of the Mystery Dungeon series. Speaking of monsters, dungeons, and backtracking, Netflix is sinking their teeth back into Castlevania with a 3rd season of their animated series based on the games. The new episodes will continue the story of the Belmont family in their fight against the forces of evil, and because Dracula was defeated at the end of the last season, don't be surprised if new villains from the games are introduced this time around. Thanks to its anime-inspired art style and relentless violence, the Castlevania show has easily been one of the most successful video game adaptations ever, although so far Netflix hasn't announced if a 4th season will become a reality. All right, we are back, and we've got a couple of great friends of Electric Playground. I've known these guys for many years. This is Paul Ruskay, who is a composer and a musician, and this is Arndt, who is a hardcore programmer and game maker. Known Arndt since back at Black Box. You were there for the whole run of Black Box. I was there for about 4 months as a designer. We met on a NASCAR project years ago. And then you worked at United Front Games. Did you work at EA as well?
Yep.
Yeah, everybody does a stint at Electronic Arts.
Well, we got bought, so.
Yeah, and then you got bought, of course, right. And Paul actually composed many things, worked on Homeworld and all kinds of great projects, and also composed music for Electric Playground.
Yeah, that's right.
And
that's
Reviews
right.
on the Run, so you've heard some of his work in our shows. But they're here today for a new company and a new project. The company's called Luminosum. It's a team of how many, Arndt?
4.
Of 4 people. We like that. We like small but mighty.
Yeah, old school.
And the game that you're showing off today is called Lumote. And Arndt, why don't I start with you? What is Lumote all about?
Okay, well, you play as Lumote, our cute little squishy bioluminescent sea creature.
You gotta eat the mics.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So in Lumote, it's really about pushing your blue power through the world, which is controlled essentially by the red power, which is the master mode. It's sort of like the boss of the world. And like sort of like our unique thing, I guess, is like you have basically 2 abilities. So you can jump and double jump, but your main one is to be able to possess. So you possess all the other creatures in the world and you use their abilities to solve the puzzles. So actually I can show you that. I timed this wrong.
It's hard to talk and play at the same time. That is a big chunk of it. I'm hearing all of this atmospheric kind of music right now. Is this part of the score? Do you do that stuff too?
Yeah, I did all the audio, Wise integration.
Okay.
And so it's such a small team. I guess I was the audio department.
That's cool.
So all the sound design, all the music, coming up with Lumote's voice, so all those little voice reactions.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what was the inspiration for the character and the way the characteristics of this?
You know, it's a really dreamlike environment, and I think the influences we were talking about was sort of like nature documentaries.
Okay.
And kind of like internet radio from the early 2000s. You know, so that you know, it's like you're listening to Drone Zone or something, and you know, you can lose a couple hours just listening to that. So
cool,
because it's such a ambient experience.
That's supposed to be chill, right?
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, so what are you showing us right here, Arndt?
Okay, so this little guy here, we call a dumb bat. So basically dumb battery. So in this case, over here at the switch, when you take control of the switch, you can see the blue energy goes and opens up the exit.
Yeah.
But when you release, the red energy just flows back in. So you have to figure out how to keep that switch blue. So this guy here, if we possess him, and then we can move him onto the switch, and then, so he'll keep channeling whatever the last energy to actually, that controlled it. So a lot of the later puzzles,
Oh, wow, man. So, and this is all explorable world?
Oh, yeah.
You can go all through there?
So the entire game is actually visible. So a bit later, the whole world will activate, and then you'll actually be able to see everything. But there's no load screens. The entire game is actually here.
So that is,
it's
that's the
this
whole
is-
game.
Yeah, this is the game.
That's very cool.
So, I
That's
mean,
awesome.
You'll be able to see it a lot better later.
Is Lumote an alien? Or is there like a backstory to the creature? Or?
There is, but we have not revealed it in this one.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you want people to, it's experiential.
Yes.
You
yeah.
want people to kind of zen out and chill out. And
Exactly.
This is, I mean, UFG, you guys did Mod Nation Racers, and you did the, what was the other big game that you launched out?
Oh, well, there was Sleeping Dogs. was the
Sleeping
other big
Dogs,
one.
huge,
And-
amazing.
Yeah, and Little Big Planet Card.
Little Big Planet Karting, yeah. Are you working with ex-UFG people here on this, or?
Yeah, Kyle and I worked at UFG together.
Okay.
He was specifically on Sleeping Dogs, but we worked on a lot of shared technology stuff.
So you guys had the talent and the ability to go in a million different directions, and this isn't the type of game that people would necessarily associate
Yeah.
with UFG, but clearly there was a passion to go in this direction. Was that led as a collective, or was there one person that was saying we should make a platform action puzzle game?
A collective, but also at the same time, so the fourth person on the team is Michelle, who's Kyle's wife.
Okay.
And she loves everything cute.
Yeah.
So this, the initial concept for the game came from a game jam that they did for Halloween 5 years ago.
Awesome.
So it was the first Unreal game jam, and the theme of it was Bump in the Night. So they started off with a concept of you're the main character, and every time you jump, you release a burst of light, and that also activates the enemies. And that game, they ended up winning the game jam with that idea, and then that idea eventually evolved into this.
That's amazing. So for people that don't know, most of you guys would know, but it's a game jam is when people have like a weekend to try to sort of proof of concept an idea into playable form using established game engines like Unreal or Unity or something like that, just to see if there's fun there, and that sounds like there was.
Yeah. So that idea, although it was actually quite different in a lot of respects, the main thing that's persisted is sort of the concept of the squishy character, I guess, is maybe the only thing that actually made it.
It does look like everything in the world is squishy. It does look malleable, and is that true? Is that all the way through it? It's all kind of living and.
Oh, actually, this ties in very well too. So, because we don't actually have an animator on the team, but we still wanted things to feel sort of like the theme is sort of underwater, right? So a lot of the inspiration for the art style comes from the bioluminescent sea creatures at the bottom of the ocean.
Cool.
And a lot of those things are squishy and just weird looking and move in ways which are unfamiliar. So one of the things when we started working with Paul was we wanted to use the audio to drive as much of the motion in the game as possible. So like one of the things here, so like this little guy here, so all of the animation that's actually happening on this character is actually driven by the audio that Paul makes.
How did that work?
Well, it sounds a lot more complicated than it is, but basically how it works is we used Wise by Audio Kinetic, and they have a plugin which basically you can track the decibel meter on a bus and translate that into a data stream, which can be fed back into the game engine to drive particles, lighting, and mesh animation.
Wow.
So it was really interesting because we didn't have an animator, I sort of took on a role of like almost like a visual effects side of it, because like a toot will be a blast of particles, or a long sound will be a stream of particles.
Amazing.
So you're kind of thinking about audio in a visual kind of way.
That's kind of the way that I know Arndt works. Because, I mean, these guys were like rock star programmers that were, the way that I met Arndt and some of the other programmers that you work with at Black Box is they would reverse engineer everything and they would figure everything out to the core. And I was a really young designer thinking maybe I'm gonna go make video games, and I remember talking with these guys and I just felt so stupid. I'd go home every night and I'm like, I don't even know what the hell they're talking about. But they were just sort of like breaking it down and building it back up again. And it sounds like this is a really heavy programmer-led kind of concept in a way.
Yeah, actually, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yes. Kyle is an artist and coder.
Okay.
And I'm coder, but also do a lot of the rendering and graphics.
Right.
Michelle is the level designer, but she's also a coder as well.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So
Is that the secret?
really just
Is that the secret to a small team? Is to have a lot of core programming sort of experience and knowledge?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's the secret, but like in our case, with the four of us, we specifically chose a genre, and I guess the game design choices were centered around our strengths, right? So for instance, there's no dialogue in our game because none of us are a writer, right? So, and because Kyle's an artist as well as a coder, and I'm like a rendering coder, we sort of focused a lot of the aesthetic around what we could do via code.
Nice.
And then mixing that code with the audio design seemed like a really good way to cover off the animation side as well. And so, and a lot of the other animation in the game is actually physics driven as well. So it really, it's knowing the composition of your team and knowing the strengths, and then making decisions that play to those strengths rather than to your weaknesses.
And you guys have both shipped so many games over the years that this feels like a very calculated choice on exactly how you want to make a game in 2020.
I think the tools are at a point right now where, I mean, this is where, at least from an audio perspective, where the Wise tools are at right now. I mean, we kind of dreamed about this stuff.
Do you work for Wise?
Well, now that you mention it.
Wise, if you're hiring. Paul Ruskay
yeah.
is pimping your stuff like crazy right now.
I can't speak, highly enough for that wonderful tool. No, but that was the thing.
Check is going to come on.
Yeah. But that was the great thing about it because, Arndt and Kyle are, they're specialists in terms of programming, and being able to harness audio waveforms to drive visual systems was something I had never thought of.
Yeah.
But once, I sort of got into it and Arndt will get to a point hopefully where we have the audio driving like camera shake.
Yep.
And some other visual things. So I think in 2020, the experience for me at least is that a small group of really, proficient devs can put together quite a nice game experience.
It's beautiful, and the game is out now already on Steam, right? Is it out in early access, or is it the finished game?
Finished game.
Finished game. Did you do an early access? Or? No, because you guys have shipped 1 million games, so you know what it takes. So you made a game and you put it out on Steam. How's it doing?
It's doing pretty good.
Yeah.
It's like at PAX, we just got back from PAX East in Boston, and the game was amazingly well received.
Cool.
It was, we had 3 stations set up, and it was continuous. Like even on the slow days, it was just multiple people deep wanting to play it. It's also really cool at those kind of shows, seeing the range of skill levels of people that'll come to play it, and then just the way.
I guess it's like real life focus testing right there, isn't it?
It is. Yeah,
watch them play test your stuff.
It's also really cool to see people who don't even like the genre just get mesmerized by the visuals and then come and play it, and then finish the whole like demo segment. So it's heartwarming, especially after 5 years of work. So.
Yeah. Is that how long it's been? You guys have been working for 5
years.
Yeah, I guess that's the other side of the story. When you're small, you can do it all, but it takes
a
lot longer. Yeah. Has it been a rewarding experience already, regardless of where this goes or how this goes? Do you feel? Does it feel amazing to just make the thing and have it out in the world?
And it's kind of like getting back to basics too, where larger productions have a lot more moving parts.
Yeah.
And so it's nice having. I mean, you have to be responsible for your own creative vision, but Yeah, it was just kind of like a really. It wasn't without stress, but it was definitely rewarding when it was coming together.
Nice.
And we could see the vision, actually what we talked about, come together.
Have you had any reviews of the game on websites or anything like that, or anybody, like any peers have played it and given you guys feedback?
I think we're at 88 on Metacritic.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
So we have-
Congratulations, man. That's no easy task. That's amazing.
But that's only 2 reviews, so.
Clearly, there is no marketing person at Lumote.
Where's my media training? Yeah, right.
That's wonderful. So people can go and check out Lumote right now. Is there a demo or anything, or do they got to buy the thing to play it?
A demo's in the works.
Okay.
But right now,
Okay.
yes,
This looks like a Switch game to me.
So that's the very next platform we're doing.
Very
Yeah,
nice.
Switch.
Very nice. Okay, I know you're going to make a lot of Switch fans happy. Arndt and Paul, thank you so much for coming, and we'll definitely have you guys back again if you'd like to come down to EP.
Absolutely.
But go and check out Lumote on Steam, and stay tuned for more announcements on where else the game might live. Everybody, please give it up for Luminosity. All right, now we're going to take a trip back in time. We've got a buried treasure for you.
Tap is all you need. Calm down, rookie. Control the vehicle.
Today's buried treasure goes back to 2011. It's Driver San Francisco, which was published by Ubisoft and made by Reflections. And I played this on my Xbox 360. It's backwards compatible on Xbox One. Yay! There was a PS3 version. It's out for the PC as well. This is a terrific game. There's a great story mode in here where you play John Tanner and you're, dealing with all kinds of intricacies and dealing with being a good cop, a good undercover cop, taking down bad guys, and it's also connected to Driver 3 as well. So if you've stuck with the franchise, you get all of that. But the core elements of the game, just driving around inside of this San Francisco, which admittedly has much wider streets than the real San Francisco, so it's a lot more friendly for a racing game. There's a lot less traffic as well. I don't know if you've ever really driven around San Francisco. It's a nightmare. They added in all of the giant hills, so you get wicked jumps in this game, and mechanics are pretty damn sound. It's fun to do drifts around corners. It's fun to jump into a truck and try driving around and deal with the physics of a truck. It's fun to jump over the ramps. You see all of these car carriers running around that give you these perfect ramps in the street. It's fun to take those. It's fun to pick up the little movie bits along the way, or get challenged with stunt sequences where you've got to bash all kinds of stuff. Or be a cop for a while and take out bad guys off of the road.
That's it. Reel them in. Careful, rookie. Careful. Not the best start to your appraisal day, rookie.
It's been a long time since I played it, and of course we've been flooded with lots of great racing games. And the thing that I always find about racing games is that they age quickly, and it's sometimes very difficult to go back in time and check out some classic racing stuff because everything looks so janky. And this one definitely suffers a little bit from that, to be honest. It's not state of the art anymore by any means, but it still runs very fast, and it's got some great ideas. I think my favorite idea about this game is that you can bounce from car to car whenever you want to. So you can hop out, pull the camera back from your vehicle, spot another vehicle that you want to start driving, and jump right into it. And it just fills you with elation that you can do that. Visuals are pretty cool. Like, it's got a nice film grain quality to it, and there's a camera that you can unlock, which is called the Thrill Cam, which gives you a totally different perspective on all the cool moves that you have. I unlocked the DeLorean, and I was able to get it up to 88 miles an hour, and I got an achievement. I I had a smile on my face the whole time I was playing this. It is absolutely worth going back and checking this out. I'm so happy that this is backwards compatible on Xbox One, although I haven't tested it yet, so I can't sort of endorse the performance yet, but I'm definitely going to check that out.
Your driving assessment starts now, rookie.
Okay, please can you buckle up, sir?
Not bad for a rookie. You passed your first test. Oh, that could fail you right there.
This is a wonderful racing game. It's totally stood the test of time, and it's an absolute buried treasure. All right, we are back. You guys definitely got to check out Driver San Francisco, an amazing game. Bear is back with me, and our guest today is Anthony Del Col, who is a Joe Shuster Award-winning writer. He writes for comic books. He writes about video games. He creates his own series. This is a very talented man. But right now, Anthony is joining us to talk a little bit about his latest project, which is an audio drama that you can listen to on Audible, whether you go through audible.ca here in Canada or wherever Audible is around there. It's called Assassin's Creed Gold, and it's a very, very cool story. Anthony, welcome to Electric Playground. It's great to have you.
It's great to be on the show, Victor and Bear, so thank you so much for having me here.
This is great. Now, you are a Canadian boy who now lives in America, yes?
Yes, born and raised in Timmins, Ontario, Goshenaya.
Yep.
And then lived in Toronto for years, and then my wife and I relocated down to New York because I wanted to fulfill a lifelong dream, which was to become a hipster writer in Brooklyn, working at coffee shops. And so, the dream is now done. The dream is completed. Yes.
Was Assassin's Creed Gold written in coffee shops in Brooklyn? And did you just shave your beard?
It actually was, yes.
Yes.
I don't have my beanie on. I'm sort of embarrassed to admit that, yes, it was. I actually wrote about 40 or 50% of Assassin's Creed Gold while I was supposed to be on pat leave. I have a newborn, and I was supposed to be on pat leave, but
congratulations.
Thank you. Every day I'd have to sneak out for about 2 or 3 hours while was having a nap and frantically write all these characters and all this story and everything. So
that's awesome. Okay, well, this is a very unique Assassin's Creed project, a story. Why don't you encapsulate it for us? What is Assassin's Creed Gold all about?
Certainly. Assassin's Creed Gold is the first time ever that an Assassin's Creed story has been told in the audio format. Some people refer to them as audio dramas. Some refer to them as fiction podcasts. It's for your ears. You can grab your AirPods or your earbuds or whatever and listen to it on your iPhone through your Audible app or on your desktop or on your smart speakers. Story is very simple. It's twofold. There's a modern day and historical, and really the core of this one is the historical story. Is the historical element. It's set in London, 1696, and one of the featured characters is Isaac Newton. Who is a historical figure that everybody's heard of, everybody knows, and we all know him as the scientist, the philosopher, the thinker. And this is true. This is actually true. For a 3.5-year period, he became the warden of the Royal Mint of England, and he became a badass, dirty Harry type of individual. Like, counterfeiting was rampant across the country. Everyone was making their fake coinage and bamboozling everybody. And he was put in place to basically track down all these major counterfeiters. So he would do whatever it took to stop them. Short of killing them, of course, but through interrogation, imprisonment, tracking them down, sending guards on them. Like, he became this badass guy. And so I was always captivated by the story. So it's his story and his assistant, who's actually a blind aide named Omar Khaled, played by Emmy Award winner Riz Ahmed.
Yes.
It's Omar is actually the assassin, if you will, the actual assassin in this. He's blind too, which makes it really interesting in terms of the audio experience because, when you listen to this, you can't actually see what the characters are seeing, and neither can the main character. And so the two of them are tracking down this counterfeiter, William Chaloner, in England, 1696, and then there's a modern day element where we have Aliyah Khan. Who's a sort of a card hustler. She's a business school dropout who wanted to get involved in cryptocurrency, was bamboozled, lost her money, and she wants to get that back. And so this mysterious organization called the Assassins approach her and say, look, we can bring this guy to justice But in order for that to happen, we want something from you, which is, can you access the memories of your ancestor? And the ancestor is Omar, the blind assassin. So she actually relives and experiences everything that Omar did as he and Isaac Newton tracked down all these counterfeiters.
There's so many levels of brilliance in that whole pitch that you just gave me right there, but it becomes especially true when you are listening to this story and you recognize that Omar is blind and you realize that this is like the Daredevil of Assassin's Creed. And it's such a cool idea because it just fits with the whole, presentation that you're giving to us, as consumers of this. And I'm wondering, when you get a project like this, is this something that you pitch to Ubisoft, or Ubisoft sort of has a bunch of ideas and they want you to flesh it out? How does that collaboration come together?
Well, this one was sort of unique. As you mentioned, I've written comics for a number of years, and one of the titles that I wrote or co-wrote was Assassin's Creed, with Titan Comics based out of the UK.
Cool.
So I had written 3 graphic novels, or co-written 3 graphic novels with them. So I had an established relationship with Ubisoft, all the key members of the Assassin's Creed team in Montreal, Amar, Anouk, and the gang there. And so at the same time, I was also working on a found footage thriller with Audible in the UK called, it was released in 2017, Unheard, the story of Anna Winslow, which hit #1 in the UK, became a bestseller, hit #1 in the US, was a huge success. And so I was having a conversation with the team at Audible, and Rebecca Fenton, who is development exec there, actually asked the question, do you think you could do an Assassin's Creed audio drama? And I kind of slapped my forehead. I'm like, I can't believe I didn't think about this already.
Yeah.
And so she's like, yeah, this would be great. So I actually put the teams together. So not only am I the writer and the creator of this, but I actually helped bring everyone together to make this deal happen.
That is awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. And so I had heard about these historical elements with Isaac Newton in the story. And so I've always thought that I've always wanted to tell that tale. And so, because the great thing about Assassin's Creed is that it's a historical fiction, really.
Yep.
I thought, hey, what if I took this historical story that I'm familiar with and kind of like put my own spin on it in the Assassin's Creed world? And so I put together the rough pitch, sent it off to Audible. In terms of, I wrote a pilot and the series outline. They sent it off to Ubisoft. Ubisoft loved it, and that helped finalize the deal. And then started everything with the team in Ubisoft in Montreal in December 2018.
Anthony, are there any creative freedoms that you get from making an audio drama over, let's say, a film or a video game, from a writing perspective?
Yes, I mean, the biggest freedom is budget, to be honest.
Wow.
To do a feature film of this story, even if you're doing a low-budget indie film in Canada, you're looking at millions of dollars. At least, I won't even estimate, but you're looking at a lot of money. Video games, the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, if you could probably talk to somebody at Ubisoft to find out what the budgets are on those games, but it's not something you can, ask for change for outside.
No.
And so, I mean, the biggest freedom is just budget. So you have the ability to think of whatever you want. Like, hey, I can set a scene in front of in an auditorium or like an amphitheater or an arena or anything like that. I don't need to worry about extras. All that stuff can be done in post-production. It can all be done with just, from an audio, like just looping voices and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So in terms of that and the freedom to basically do whatever you want. Now, of course, on the flip side, there are restrictions because, I mean, you can't really show anyone, exhibiting emotion. I mean, a lot of it is just, you have to it's just through dialogue and it's just through sound effects. So you can't, there's no, sometimes there's a narrator, sometimes there isn't. But you kind of have to quickly get into the scene, remind people like, oh, we're talking to Isaac Newton, we're talking to Omar, we're talking to Aaliyah, we're talking to Gavin Banks, to Sean Hastings, whoever it is. So you have, there are a lot of restrictions, or it's one of the difficult facets of putting together an audio drama.
Yeah, I'm curious to know now what your favorite Assassin's Creed game is.
I'm a purist. So I'll go Assassin's Creed 3. I mean,
okay, 3.
Wow, that's good.
Okay.
That's cool. Well, 3's back because they just remastered it. I loved it too when it came out, but it was there were issues with some technical things and some pacing things when it first launched, but it's been greatly improved. But I always loved the setting and the structure and all that stuff. I know I don't want you to spoil this for people that are going to listen to it, but I imagine, with all of these stakeholders involved, there's probably some Easter eggs.
Yes, there are a lot of Easter eggs,
Yeah.
and it's one of the cool things about working with Ubisoft, especially, is they're open to telling new stories, interesting stories, incorporating brand new, innovative characters. But they're also they're very talented storytellers. So the team there, especially Nuke and Susie, they just did a great job in terms of making suggestions in terms of where the story was going. But they also said, hey, you know what? Like, what if we incorporated this character here? What if we kind of took this moment from this? So there are some Easter eggs, and there's references. But on the flip side, I also, whenever I write anything for Assassin's Creed, I don't want it so it's so weighed down or burdened by lore or by canon that the average person who's never played a game or read a book or a comic or anything or knows nothing about Assassin's Creed, that they can't get into it. I want it so that this is something that I have no idea what this is, but Isaac Newton is as a badass Dirty Harry. I want to check this out. And you kind of, through this and through Aaliyah, you find out everything about what the Creed is and who the Templars are and all that sort of stuff.
Are there any screenwriters or aspiring writers in the room right now? Oh, yeah, we got a bunch. Okay. Well, this is great because
film school.
I know that you are jumping from in between disciplines. You'll go from pitching a movie to working on a comic book to working on. Have you worked in video games too? Have you written for video games?
No, I haven't. I'm writing an interactive series right now, but that's more choose your own adventure. So it's sort of a cross between a web series / television series and like a video game. But no, I haven't written specifically for video games yet.
Is that part of the job as a writer in the 2020s? Is to just be like, okay, I'll do an audio drama, and I'll write a comic. You have to be flexible and be ready to kind of, fill the stories and compose those words no matter what the job kind of demands?
You do, yes. We Brooklyn hipsters, whatever it takes, whatever excuse we have to get to the coffee shop. No, you have to be very flexible. Especially as you're growing or as you're evolving as a career and as a writer, you can find one particular thing. But I think even that you start to get bored. If you talk to screenwriters or comic book writers who have done this for 20, 30 years, they kind of lose a bit of interest. And so they want to try, get rid of the safety net and try a different medium. So for me, I kind of jump from comic series to audio drama, fiction podcasts. I really love that stuff. Most recently, I actually did my first bit of comics journalism. And what that was is it was a 20-page comic book about the Donald Trump impeachment saga.
Wow.
So I know. So Business Insider publications reached out to me. They were fans of my work, and I'd never done anything in that sort of field. It's sort of whatever you can find, whatever comes to you, and whatever interests you. And but at the end of the day, and this is what I learned through Business Insider, it all boils down to who's the character. What do they want? What are the obstacles in his or her way? And then going from there. So whether it's a podcast, whether it's a comic series, whether it's Business Insider, all this stuff. It's storytelling. And so when you find a captivating character, a captivating situation, you just want to sink your teeth into it and tell that story.
Right on. So take your skills and make them transportable and be flexible.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right. Okay. Would it be a dream of yours now that you've created characters in the Assassin's Creed mythology to now see them come alive in a video game?
Yes. I know. I get this all the time, especially with Charlotte de la Cruz, who is a character that myself and Conor McCreary created for the Assassin's Creed world. We've had cosplayers that have come up to us at comic conventions or on social media. I've seen photos of it. I would love to see, Charlotte, especially in one of these games. I'd love to see this Isaac Newton story. And Omar Khaled, I think, is a really fascinating character because he's someone who left his house when he was 12 years old. He went out and saw the world. He got involved in a lot of stuff, a lot of violence, a lot of attacks, a lot of murders and deaths. And he's scarred. He's emotionally scarred. So, I'd love to kind of play with him. in that. So whether, I'd love to see them in video game, I'd also love to see this as a TV series.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd really love to see Ubisoft turn Assassin's Creed into a television series.
It's crazy for them. I mean, that they tried with the film, but we don't have to dog it or anything like that. It was not a good movie, but it was too packed with things to be a movie, and it's because the stories in the games are too packed with. It would be perfect material for a series.
Absolutely. I mean, the great thing about Assassin's Creed as a franchise is that every game you get to dive into a different historical era, whether it's the Greek era or whether it's French Revolution or Renaissance Italy. I mean, all these different eras. So if you want, really, and I've been trying to talk to them about this, is like do it as a television series. Like season 1 could be this time period. Season 2 could be Isaac Newton in England. Like, there's so many time periods, so many historical eras to dive into. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like the games have so much. There's so much stuff in there, and that's why my first experience with Assassin's Creed was the comic series. And when Titan Comics approached us, they couldn't tell us what video game franchise it was. They said, "Oh, we have this license, but we need you to sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, before we can reveal what it is, and then you can put together a pitch." And so, as I was signing with one hand, the other hand, I'm like, I want it to be Assassin's Creed. I want it to be and lo and behold, it was. And here we are, X number of years later, and I've written four graphic novels or four comic series with them, and the audio drama, and hopefully there'll be more.
Awesome. We have a few more minutes with Anthony, and I want to open it up to anybody watching the stream right now or anybody that's in the room. If you've got a question for Anthony, let me know. But before we get to those questions, can you tell us a little bit about the comic book that you won the Joe Shuster Award for, Kill Shakespeare? I haven't read it, but when I read the synopsis, it looks amazing. And I definitely will read it. But what is Kill Shakespeare all about?
Kill Shakespeare is an action-adventure story where we take all of Shakespeare's greatest heroes and his most menacing villains, and we put them all together in the same world, same story, same adventure. They're all on a quest to track down and kill or save a mysterious wizard by the name of, wait for it, William Shakespeare.
Okay.
So it's very much Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings with Shakespeare's characters. There's Hamlet and Juliet, Richard III, Lady Macbeth, Iago. They're all on this epic quest to track down this wizard or this being. We don't know what exactly is. So it debuted with IDW Publishing as a comic series. We have 5 graphic novels, a board game, a stage show that's played in 36 cities worldwide. It debuted in Toronto. I don't know if it's played in Vancouver. I can't remember. I played at Shakespeare's Globe Theatre last summer, back in 2018. Yeah. We have an audio drama in the German language, not English, but in German. I don't know. Don't ask me. And then, we're in development for TV right now with Universal. So
that is amazing, man.
Is
that why you're in Los Angeles? Are we getting a scoop right here?
Yeah,
it is.
Vic, making people break NDAs.
Oh, that's awesome. I definitely want to read it, and it's amazing that you're basically able to put the Avengers together without having to worry about any copyrights or royalties or anything like that.
It's the Justice League of Shakespeare, yeah.
That's so cool.
And that's actually how we pitched it. The very first pitch meeting, we did not rehearse this at all. We were sitting down with the 2 heads of IDW, and I said, it's sort of the Justice League of Shakespeare. The 2 guys that run the company laughed just like the 2 of you did. Turned to look at each other like, oh, yeah, it really is. I think we can do this. So my co-creator Connor turned to me. He's like, I didn't think you knew what the Justice League was, Anthony. So, I like to joke it only took 4 words to get a publishing deal.
That's fantastic. Before I get into a couple questions, tell me about hearing Riz Ahmed and the rest of the cast portray your words and sort of bring them all to life. That must have been surreal for you.
Very surreal. There's always a part of the process where, as a creator, Audible or the production company will come to me and say, well, who's your ideal cast? So in this role here, what kind of actor, what kind of actress would you like in this role or this role and this role? And so for Omar Khaled, actually, I put Riz Ahmed as the lead. I was like this is who I'd love to get. And then unfortunately I wasn't involved in production on this one. Everything took place in London. But I think just before production commenced, they said, here's the cast. We got Anthony Head from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. For Isaac Newton, we have this actress, and we have Riz Ahmed. I was like,
that is amazing.
And I mean, the guy's an Emmy winner. He's been one of my favorite actors for years. And so when I actually listened to the first episode and his performance, he started to do things I hadn't even thought of. Like, just, you could tell he had really thought about the character. He had really dived into the psyche of the character, and so his portrayal was unlike what I expected. And because of that, that's what happens when you have great actors. They elevate the material, and they actually make people like me look good that way.
So, question from the audience. We got Marco A is asking if there's been any stories in games that have inspired you.
Any stories in games? That is a very good question. My favorite game of all time is one that inspires me in storytelling in general, and that's BioShock. In the BioShock series. Just the reveal at the end of 1 and then at the end of 3, Infinite. When you sit down and you want to tell a story, you want to try to do something unique and original. And so the team there, Ken Levine and everyone else involved, they've just knocked it out of the park, especially with those 2 games. And it's really inspired me as a creator and as a storyteller.
Wonderful.
That's amazing.
Sam I am 111, who always brings a good question, says, did you have alternate pitch ideas when you were putting Assassin's Creed Gold out there? Were there other directions or other ways to approach this?
There were, but to be honest, I can't remember what they were. And this Isaac Newton one was one that really had stuck with me for a number of years. And it's one that if we had continued on with the comic series, I was actually going to pitch this to the publisher.
Cool.
But our run ended just a bit before that could happen. That was I've also always wanted to tell, because of the time jump nature of the stories, I've always wanted to tell like a recent historical period as well. And so I wanted to tell something in 1970s Argentina with the Dirty War,
cool.
Where like all of a sudden there were 50,000, 100,000 people that just disappeared. And so I'd love to be able to incorporate a modern day character dealing with his or her grandparents or something that were involved in that. And it really becomes like you can really have the ability to bring a modern day storyline and the historical one like that much closer.
Right. So it would actually be like a real connection, like a physical connection, as opposed
to
yeah, amazing. That's awesome.
Because time you're jumping like 50 years, 100 years, 200 years in the past, but to have something where you jump in 30 years or 40 years, I think that would be really interesting.
Very cool. I should introduce you to the guys at Luminosum, because they don't have any writers at their company. They were just on.
Why are you calling them out, Vic? Yeah. They're here. They showed their fantastic game here.
They're awesome. Did anybody have any questions for Anthony? Yeah, he's got it down. Any questions for Anthony? No? Did we learn a lot today, class? Okay. Okay, go for it. Oh, that's a great one. How did you break in? How did you get started there, Anthony?
The origin story, yes. Every origin story is different. There's no one set pattern. I started out actually in the business world. I went to business school, produced 2 indie feature films in Canada, then worked as a music manager for 5 years, managing Nelly Furtado from Victoria, BC, and a bunch of others. And then
there's so many weird connections here. It's like so many tangents. It's awesome.
But yeah, so I came in from a business perspective, or from the business world, and while I was managing these artists, Connor and I had come up with this Kill Shakespeare idea. And we thought, oh my God, this is great, like let's make this happen. So we both left our jobs. We were crazy enough to leave our jobs, and we actually, because Connor's also a business grad, we put together a small little business plan or prospectus and raised a small amount of funding to pay for production costs. Because this was before the days of Kickstarter. If Kickstarter had been around, we probably would have done that.
Right.
But yeah, so we raised a small amount of funding so we get the publishing, pay for publishing costs and that sort of thing, and then we signed a deal with IDW, and from there we were off to the races. So the next project was Sherlock Holmes versus Harry Houdini with Dynamite, Assassin's Creed, and then since then, everything from Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys, The Big Lie, Son of Hitler, with Image. I've done 12, 13, 14 comics, I think, thus far. So yeah.
Luke Cage with Marvel, which is pretty cool.
That's very cool. I'm the first person to ever give a superhero CTE, the chronic traumatic encephalopathy, the concussion syndrome that football players and military are dealing with these days.
Wow, yeah, he would get that for sure, wouldn't he?
He would. The interesting thing about Luke is, from the exterior, or like physically, he's unbreakable. but inside's a completely different matter.
Yeah.
So as my first title ever with one of your traditional big two, like with Marvel, I wanted to do something completely different. So that was a lot of fun to write.
Amazing. Everybody, let's give it up for Anthony Del Col. What a terrific guest. Thank you, sir. You guys can check out Assassin's Creed Gold on Audible right now, and definitely do check it out. It is a very cool experience. We actually have a little taste of the book, of the audio drama, on our channel, so you can listen to it right now. But Anthony, thank you so much for being a part of this today, and I hope we get to meet up in person at some point soon.
If you're looking for me, just go to any coffee shop in Brooklyn, and I'll be there.
That's great. Okay, you guys. Thank you, sir. We will see you soon.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Okay, you guys, that's going to do it for our episode of EP Live today. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Bear, for being back again.
Of course, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we've got another great show coming up next week, next Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. PST. And if you come to the cafe at the Vancouver Film School Cafe at 390 West Hastings, we have got a lot of tickets for what's it called again? The Vin Diesel movie? Bloodshot?
Bloodshot.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I got a lot of things in my head. Bloodshot.
A lot of Vin Diesel movies.
We have no cue cards here. Vin Diesel's Bloodshot next week. We've got a lot of tickets for that, and some other swag as well. It's going to be a fun night. He's a superhero, I think, with PTSD. He's got some issues.
Isn't he a superhero in Fast and the Furious already?
He's a
superhero in every movie.
He's a superhero in Hollywood for sure.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're going to have a lot of fun next week, and I hope you had a lot of fun this week. And if you did, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share this video. Tell people about EP. Thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you soon, and until then, play forever.